This man was released from prison less than 2 minutes ago. He was taken hostage by bank robbers. What happened? Nothing. He's a famous robber in the area. Mr. Fun, he's robbed banks 14 times and never missed. But on the 15th time, he got stuck trying to escape. The police caught him red-handed. He was sentenced to 10 years in jail. That's a lot of work. The day he was released, as soon as he went out, he saw Big Hume standing outside. Time flies. It's been 10 years since Hume joined the police force as an intern. Now, 13 years have passed. He has grown up. He caught Fong and became the local police chief. Fong went to the bank to open an account. He deposited $300 in the bank account and lived happily ever after. But just then, a robber wearing stockings 13 rushed in with his teeth and claws. He shot at the roof of the house. Don't move. Then he took out a grenade and tried to bite off the ring.
Mr. Fun was confused. What's going on here? His big face is clearly visible.
But for 13, it doesn't matter now. Face doesn't matter. He walked to the counter. He asked the staff to fill his pockets. Fen looked at the time. This much time is enough for me to go to the next store. At this time, the sales clerk saw that 13 was not a professional in this business, so they slowly filled his pockets with money. Then they stepped on the alarm. The police were notified and rushed to the scene of the crime. Meanwhile, the staff filled their pockets and threw it out the window. It hit the lamp. 13 was confused. You did it on purpose. I swear I didn't. I don't know who's moving. Put your hands up. It's the robber's first time working in a bank. He's been in every situation. It's embarrassing. After the staff filled the money and skimmed it out and hung it on the lamp, 13 was confused. What's wrong? Did you do it on purpose? After that, he jumped several times but couldn't reach it. To avoid embarrassment, he had to call the staff. You're too tall for me, aren't you? The police will be here in a minute. He stepped on the stool. He used a wooden stick to pick open the money bag on top. An hour later, a large number of police arrived at the scene. The scene was surrounded by the police. 13 looked out through the curtains. She realized she's surrounded. What should we do? He decided to find a hostage. I don't know what 13's vision is like. In front of him stood those men, but he chose the tall, strong and good-looking Fun. They walked out of the bank one after the other. Officer DHM was dumbfounded. Isn't that Fun? Let go of the hostage. Fun said. Brother, look carefully. I'm the hostage. Bijom said. Do you think I'm stupid? Even if I believe you, my brothers don't believe in guns. 13 was so scared that he couldn't stand up. The police thought they were going to make a move. They started shooting like crazy. The bullets were like a rainstorm. After half a day's shooting, not a single shot was fired. The whole bank was shattered. Fun was furious. If you can't tell me what's going on, why are you talking? He grabbed the pistol and held 13 hostage. He told him to climb into the car. He told him to drive the car away. But 13 was stubborn. Don't forget I'm the one who hijacked him. You're the hostage. Then he took out a grenade. Fun thought, you're a hijacker. He had no choice but to give the gun back to 13. But then again, it's 13's first time in this business.
He's not familiar with all aspects of this business.
When he was practicing, he accidentally discharged his gun. He shot Fun in the calf.
Big Hume is confused again. What's going on? What's wrong with them? Look at them. They ran away as soon as they stepped on the gas. But because of their leg injuries, they fell into a ditch before they got very far. Fan was devastated. He's been out for less than an hour.
He became like this.
He doesn't want to lose his freedom. He had to find a way to clear his name. So Fan dragged 13 to the police station across the street. He told him to turn himself in. At that time, the police recognized Fan. Plus, 13 was right. I was kidnapped by this man. Seeing the situation, only one word flashed in Fan's mind. Run. He rushed out the door and knocked the police chief to the ground. He drove his sports car and ran away. On the way home, Fun fainted in the car. Out of kindness, 13 took him to a nearby clinic. This old man saw a patient today. His medical skills are completely unrecognizable as a veterinarian. He first put a bone in Fan's mouth, then he poured 2 tails of white wine into the wound. When he got the hang of it, he took the bullet out of his leg. He slept for 3 hours. Fan woke up. As soon as he opened his eyes, he advised 13 to turn himself in, but he just wanted to take his daughter far away and start a new life. But the problem now is, I don't know where to get the relevant documents. I can't get real documents. Fake ones will do. So he asked Fong for help, but Fong didn't say anything. He just refused. 13 then said, I've been unemployed for 3 years. I have no security. I had no choice, so I robbed the bank. If you don't help me with my documents, don't blame me for telling the police that you are my accomplice. Fong lost his temper after hearing that. He recommended a store to him. As a thank you, 13 asked his daughter Xiao Xian to stay and take care of Fong. He went to get his license. On the way, 13 remembered what Fong taught him. Keep your head down when you walk, so that the police won't find him. Are you alright? Watch where you're going, buddy. 13 arrived at the designated place, but the other party doubled the price tenfold during the transaction. It's a sit-down price. 13 doesn't have that much money, so they taught him, if he doesn't have money, he should rob a bank. 13 replied that robbing a bank requires impulse. I'm calm now. The boss gave you a big mouth. When he heard that, they kidnapped 13 and called Fung for 6W ransom, or they'll send him to the police station. You won't be able to escape then. Fung was furious. He's only been in jail for a few years. They are so arrogant. He picked up his gun and prepared to show them some color, but he didn't realize that Xiao Xian had followed him. When he reached a broken factory building, Feng fell to the ground with a cry of pain. Xiao Xian came over and thought he was asleep. She hugged his arm and fell asleep. When he woke up, he saw Xiao Xian. He began to sympathize with the little girl. Then two men came. They took the stereo home. When they came back, they realized there were two of them. That's a good way to make a buck. Go up to them and tell them this is our place. If you want to stay, you have to pay. Then he pulled out a razor and threatened them. Steelhead Fan pulled out the real thing from behind his back. You two little trash, look at this. Then, Feng grabbed their clothes and went to save 13. First, he put Xian on the side of the road. Then, he got a van. He drove straight to the boss. The boss was so scared that he crouched on the ground. His legs were shaking. He let go of 13 in a hurry. Feng really touched 13 this time. He immediately wrote a note proving that Feng had nothing to do with the bank robbery. Now that 13 has clarified the truth, Feng said goodbye to them. He planned to leave this place and enjoy a free life. But at that moment, Siu Hoon suddenly spoke.
Don't go.
13 burst into tears. She said since her wife left, this is the first time in 3 years that her daughter has spoken. So he wanted Fen to stay with them for a few days. Feng said, what are you thinking? I just got out of there and I don't have a place to stay yet. I don't have time to help you with the baby. He turned around and left. Xiao Xian chased after him. She ran into the street but lost him. Feng took 13 and searched all over the street, but there were many policemen in the neighborhood, so they hid in the bushes. They saw a kind old man. He handed Xiao Xian over to the police. After confirming that Siu Hoon was safe, Feng asked 13 to turn himself in. He said, in my experience, at your level, you'll be released in a year. But 13 wouldn't listen. He said he promised that no matter what, he would stay with his daughter and would not be separated from her. Feng didn't care. He took 13's certificate and went to the police station for clarification. He opened a locksmith store. After all, it was a way to utilize his previous expertise. It's very skillful to do it. And look at 13. Going to the market every day, 3 meals a day. He relies on picking up rotten vegetable leaves to maintain his vital signs. That day, Officer Kuhn found Fun. During our conversation, he learned that Siu Hoon was in an orphanage. The next morning, he bought a stuffed animal and went to see her, but Siu Hoon lay there motionless. She didn't talk or eat. Fun was heartbroken. At night, he broke into the orphanage with 13 and tried to take Siu Hoon away. Feng saw a stuffed animal. He thought it was Siu Hoon. He picked it up and left. He was very proud of his action. When 13 saw her, who are you hugging? After some inquiries, I found Xiao Xian in the orphanage. They picked her up. On the way, 13 found his daughter with a high fever. After examination, they came to the conclusion Siu Hoon just lost her appetite due to hunger. They gave her some medicine and found a place to eat. After that, Feng took 3 passports from the client's house. He also cut off Siu Hoon's long hair and dressed her up as a tomboy. Look at 13. She wore a flowery dress and a wig, so they could dress up as a family of 3. They passed the border without any problem, but everything went well on the way. 13 said he was seasick. He wanted to open the window to rest for a while, and the wig flew off and got crushed by the truck. When you put it back together, it looked like this. It's really spectacular. What kind of mom wears a hairstyle like that? When we arrived at the checkpoint, the police thought 13 was in labor. They called a motorcycle to escort them to the hospital. When they arrived at the hospital, 13 pretended to lie on the stretcher. Once the police left, he jumped up. The doctor was confused. What happened? Finally, the 3 of them arrived at the border. In fact, they looked like a family in the photo.
Shortcut. We'll be in Canada in 10 minutes.
Prisoners need coys. Moving trains need hard labor. Even the signs on the road pissed off the old whitey man. That's when the fat cop in the car made a lot of hand gestures, telling everyone to stay put or be shot on the spot. But old whitey couldn't help himself. He stood up and said loudly that he was wrongly accused. The fat man said, "You don't give me face." Old whitey said, "Your face is not even as good as a cobbler." While the two were arguing, The driver kept looking back, but he rolled over a banana peel. The prison car scraped the guardrail and rushed down the hill. It fell straight down the hill, bounced around like a basketball, and finally fell onto the railroad tracks. Old Whitey thought he was blind. Turns out he got his head stuck in a trash can. He found the key and unlocked the shackles.
Then a train came hurtling down the tracks. It threw all the people out.
In a moment of crisis, he used the tires, played the game of spinning people, managed to avoid the train's impact, but wasn't so lucky when he landed. He almost lost his roots. He looked back and saw the train had derailed and was coming straight for him. He panicked and ran behind a big tree and hid. After a while, there was no movement before he poked his head out. Everything looked normal. The train was poking its head out from the other side. "Don't hide. I see you." Old Whitey got scared and ran for his life. He ran halfway and got stuck on the railroad track. He saw the train coming. He thought, "It's over. Hey, the train's changing lanes. It's a little joke." Old Whitey laughed out loud. Now he hid in a garbage truck, but the road was so bumpy, it knocked his bucket off.
The barrel rolled up and down the hill.
Old Whitey just got out of his bucket. A black bear knocked him down. He got hungry and ran to the eagle's nest, waiting for its mammoth to feed it. How hard is it to be an outlaw? Even the branches give you no place to hide. Old Whitey fled into a small store. He took some clothes to change into. Just as he was about to leave, suddenly he realized a policeman was coming. As soon as he turned around, there was a wanted notice for Old Whitey on the wall. When no one was looking, he made a big fuss over the wanted notice. "I thought I could rest easy this time." But after reading the wanted notice, immediately pointed a gun at him. The police came to the door. They caught a man exactly like the one on the wanted notice. "Brother, are you the rescuer sent by the monkey?" At that moment, Old Whitey came to the crime scene. He remembered that the murderer framed him. At that moment, Sui Hua, the rich man's sister-in-law, appeared. It turned out she was the woman who couldn't get enough of Old Whitey. Old Whitey asked her who framed him. Sui Hua says she knows nothing. The inspector comes with two assistants to solve the case. He forgot to pull the handbrake when he parked the car. Old Whitey disguised himself as a weed whacker. He stepped the flowers. Not only are the flowers gone, the fountain is broken. He looked down and his toe almost fell off. He made a hasty escape. The inspector soon found him. He analyzed that he had escaped through the sewers, so he went into the sewer to chase him. But there were so many doors inside that it was confusing. When Old Whitey reached the hole, he was about to fall into the reservoir. Luckily, he kept his balance on his toes. His heart was pounding with fear. At that moment, the inspector came after him. Seeing the situation, Old Whitey jumped down into the reservoir. The guy swam out like a fish. He had nowhere to hide, so he came to Sui Hua's house, trying to hold Sui Hua hostage. I didn't expect Sui Hua to kiss him as soon as he entered. Almost gave the old man a heart attack. So, the two came to a critical step. Too bad there was no fire cupping on the back. The detective with his two assistants quickly found Old Whitey's trail. Old Whitey also found some clues at Sui Hua's house. He realized that Sui Hua was in league with Julie and the others. At this time, the criminal police brought someone to the door. Old Whitey secretly locked himself in the bathroom. He opened the window and climbed up. Old Whitey jumped from the 10th floor, fell straight into a big iron basket collecting diapers. Then the staff wearing gas masks loaded the basket onto a truck. It was almost smoked to death, but by this time, the car door was closed. A couple hours later, the bus stopped. Old Whitey jumped out the back door. When he looked at his face, he looked like a smurf. Almost got hit while crossing the street. Luckily, everyone in the car was unconscious. When he walked by, people were smelling of his stench. Even the flowers stank. He walked up to the magazine stand. The magazines couldn't take the abuse, set themselves on fire. He looked up and saw the only hospital where he could be fitted with a prosthetic leg. Think of the prosthetic killer who did this to him. I'm sure he would take care of his prosthetics, so he secretly changed into a slaughterhouse white coat. He snuck into the hospital, knocked out a guard in the elevator, took his gun. As soon as he got out of the elevator, he saw another guard right away. He had to carry his gun on his back, but it fell down his pants. He found a deserted place and tried to pull the gun out. He was caught by an old lady. She was looking forward to it, but she was disappointed. Next, the Old Whitey man changed into surgical scrubs. He tries to crawl through a pipe into the hospital's central control room, but he couldn't open the lid. Suddenly, he saw a worker installing glass. He was holding a glass suction cup, so he crept over to him. When he picked up the stunner, realized it was similar to that device. The worker touched the door directly. Old Whitey tried to turn it off, but he made a mistake. The electricity went straight to the maximum. The man was immediately electrocuted with white smoke. Old Whitey took the instrument. He accidentally sucked on the patient's head. He couldn't pull it out. Then he gave it a push and hit the iron plate on the wall. With another push, he pulled the iron plate down again. He stepped on the iron plate with both feet, pulling desperately out. Again he hit the head of the bed. With a lot of effort, He finally pulled the iron plate down. Then he hit the door again. The doctors and nurses were baffled. Thanks to old Whitey opened a passage with a glass suction cup. He looks in and climbs in, but the temperature on the meter was 40 degrees below zero. Old Whitey frowned before he reached the place. Luckily, he found the exit in time, peeled back the wires and took a look. There's an infrared anti-theft system down there. I didn't realize that old Whitey had accidentally fallen down. Luckily, he was blocked by the wires. He spun around on the wires, finally found the switch, and turned off the infrared light. He wanted to access the center computer to check the data, but he needed the account number and password. Old Whitey used the full spelling of the account number and password, turned on the computer. I don't know who designed this password. Old Whitey wants to investigate the murderer's data, but the printer didn't understand and kept spitting out paper just as the inspector's assistant arrived. As soon as he opened the door, he was buried in a pile of paper. Old Whitey took the opportunity to escape. When he got out, he saw the murderer's car. Old Whitey had an old car too. It was a bouncy old car. He even paid the parking fee by bouncing. Old Whitey followed the car in front of him and had a great time. But when he came to a cornfield, the car disappeared. Get out of the car. He immediately turned into Wu Lauer from next door. Chelsea couldn't dance as well as him. He was still in shock. A small airplane flew straight at him. Old Whitey threw off his short legs and rolled like crazy. But the plane still caught up with him and gave him a haircut. At that moment, a big 9-handed pickup truck appeared. Sui Hua jumped out of the car. In a flash, Sui Hua appeared beside old Whitey, pulling out a pistol and pointing it at old Whitey. Julie and Big Brother Killer also came out of the cornfield. Looks like the three of them are really in cahoots. Just when Brother Killer was about to kill old Whitey, Sui Hua fired first. The scene changes and old Whitey and Sui Hua meet each other. That's right. Old Whitey is still alive, but Sui Hua's gun is full of blanks. Sui Hua recently found out that her father is the Secretary General of the United Nations. Julie and the others want to use his identity to fulfill their terrorist plans. The next day, the UN Secretary General attended an event. Old Whitey was part of the honor guard. The Killer brother also appeared in the crowd. The honor guard started a gun show, but old Whitey swung his gun around. Killer aimed his gun at the UN Secretary General. The sights of this gun are amazing. It unlocked the character's next move in events. At the critical moment, old Whitey spotted the killer. He immediately shouted danger. The crowd was in an uproar. The killer's rifle was knocked around by the crowd. Old Whitey pounced on the Secretary General. He just stood up. His heart fluttered. Several people took the leader into an all-steel bulletproof car. Bullets are basically useless against this car. Julie grabbed a bazooka and aimed it at the car. Old Whitey rolled down the car window. The missile went through the window and spun. It's headed straight for the killers, but the car didn't move. Old Whitey gets out of the car and looks. One of the tires was flat. The guy changed the tire in a hail of bullets. Julie's giant rocket launcher. It's about to go off. Whitey doesn't slow down. After he changed the tire, he cleaned the glass. He got Trisha all worked up. Then he gets in the car, starts the engine and hits the gas. Julie's shot was right on target, but it was the safest car ever built. The exterior was blown off, but the people inside are alive and well. Just then, the inspector arrived with a Washington team. They immediately shot Julie's men. Police arrested Julie and the others. Old Whitey also subdued Brother Killer. He successfully exonerated himself of the murder charge. Finally, he brought his goddess Sui Hua to the bow of the cruise ship. He performed the classic scene of Titanic with love, just when they were both so beautiful. When they looked up, stunned, this movie, False Accusations, made me laugh for a year. I wonder how many times you all laughed after watching it. I'm ModernMovies-drama. Follow me as I take you to a different world of movies. The little girl realized that the man in front of her was retarded, so she secretly tricked the man to the edge of the cliff, and she kept mumbling, "Come here, you fool. Come here, fool. Don't go there. Your mom will get mad." But in the next instant, the girl suddenly slipped and fell. Xiao Wei jumped down to save her despite the danger. But when he found the girl had turned into a cold corpse.
Xiao Wei, with an IQ of only 6 years old, thought the girl was just sleeping.
He kept telling her to wake up. "You can't sleep here, son." The girl's colonel's father arrived. The colonel hugged his daughter's body and cried. He thought the fool in front of him was his daughter's murderer.
He pulled out his pistol and was ready to kill him immediately.
Luckily, his men stopped him in time. Wei was then taken to the barracks and tortured to make him confess. But no matter how hard they beat him, Wei never admitted he killed the girl. After all, he was just a retard who couldn't even lie. But the soldiers didn't care. They took Wei by the hand and forced him to confess. Though this wrongly accused fool had an IQ of only 6 years old, but his love for his daughter was no less than anyone else's. He came to pick up his daughter from school every day.
That day, His daughter had her eye on a school bag, but Why didn't have enough money.
Early the next morning, Wei woke up to make ice cream gourds. He planned to sell them to buy his daughter a school bag, but when he had enough money, the colonel bought the bag first. Wei begged the colonel to sell him the bag, but the sober colonel beat him.
Dad, who are you to take my daughter's things?
The next day, when Wei was herding sheep in the hills, a group of kids teased him like a fool. Among them was the colonel's daughter. Wei recognized the little girl's school bag. He wanted the girl to sell it to him. The girl could see that the fool liked the bag, so she tried to lure Wei to the edge of the cliff to hurt him, but she didn't realize that she had an accident because of it. The colonel's father accused Wei of murder. Upon learning of her father's arrest, the daughter rushed to the barracks with her grandmother. They didn't believe Wei was the murderer, but the colonel had ordered no one to visit Wei. Watching her father being sent to jail, the daughter could only cry and run after the car. The father kept repeating a phrase in the car. Cyclops saw what happened. Oh, son. The daughter found the Cyclops that her father had spoken of. That is, the abandoned building in front of her. The girl realizes that there really is a man here. The man admitted that he saw everything that happened and is willing to testify on Wei's behalf. But when the girl and her grandmother came back to look for him, the man had disappeared without a trace. Meanwhile, Wei was put in jail. The colonel also ordered the guards to treat Wei well. So the guards first punched Wei on the head. Then he kicked Wei's body. At that moment, Wei was like a child who made a mistake. Anyone who dared to come near him was afraid of getting beaten up. If you dare to make trouble here, I'll kill you right away. Understand? Until Wei came to the prison dormitory, he still had an innocent smile on his face because he didn't know what this place was. Neither did he know that all the people here are real criminals. Making his bed after a day of torture, Wei fell asleep, but when the dormitory boss found out Wei was in jail for killing a little girl, he immediately took his men and beat him up again. They couldn't stand this child-murdering scum. This time, Wei was seriously injured and hospitalized. The doctor said it was a miracle he survived, but these people don't know the reason he survived, because he couldn't let go of his daughter. 2 months later, Wei returned to the dormitory, but he didn't hate those who bullied him, but in the hearts of his classmates, he was a pervert who wouldn't even let his child go. Until one day, they saw Wei taking care of an injured pigeon. They began to suspect such a simple and kind-hearted man. Was he really a murderer? From then on, the inmates began to accept him. Wei also wrote to his daughter often, but every time the guard saw a letter written by Wei, he would tear it up immediately.
In order to save her father, during this period, the daughter waited every day for the witness to come back, but 2 months passed and the witnesses hadn't come back yet, but she still waited for her father's trial.
The defendant, Wei, is guilty of intentional homicide. He was sentenced to death. Upon hearing that Wei was sentenced to death, the colonel smiled with satisfaction, but Wei's mother cried her heart out. Wei didn't know what the death penalty meant, but seeing his mother cry, he cried along with her.
At night, the girl asked her grandmother what the death penalty was. Grandma said people sentenced to death are good people. After they are executed, they will fly to heaven and become angels. After listening to her grandmother's explanation, the girl closed her eyes peacefully, but when she fell asleep, Grandma's eyes were already red. The next day, the teacher took the girl and Grandma to visit her family, but the soldier knew they were coming to see Wei. He immediately refused.
The girl was desperate to see her father, so she sneaked out of the prison walls alone. He called out for his father outside. The father heard his daughter's voice and ran out happily. He also called out to his daughter from inside. Father, I found the witnesses. I'll get you out soon. Or, father, daddy, daddy, daddy. I want to go home. I want to go home. But the guard used escape as an excuse. He beat Or severely again. That day, Wei returned to the dormitory, crying like a child. All this was seen by his cellmates. They suspected that Wei was framed. That night, the dormitory boss was attacked in the toilet. Wei happened to see this scene. He rushed up to defend the boss from the knife. Wei's action completely changed the boss's opinion of him. He was convinced that Wei was definitely not the murderer. I don't believe such a good father would hurt his own child. So the inmates decided to help Wei. At least let him see his daughter one more time before he dies. So the dormitory boss took advantage of his wife's visit. He brought Wei's daughter here. The girl was hidden under the coffee table and pushed into the dormitory. A few months later, the girl finally saw her father again.
Dad, Daddy, Daddy, I missed you so much.
Seeing father and daughter together, the prisoners were happy for them. The girl told her father that there was someone who could prove his innocence.
Hearing this, the prisoners all bowed their heads in remorse. They didn't think Wei was really innocent. The girl asked her father if all these people were bad people. Wei told his daughter they were all his good friends. The inmates even prepared gifts for the girl. One of the old men liked the girl even more because the girl resembled his dead daughter. Son, the warden received a call, so he immediately rushed to the dormitory with his men. But when he arrived at the dormitory, everyone instantly turned into actors. The warden knew that only Wei couldn't lie. Where's your daughter? The warden was furious. He was about to put everyone in solitary confinement, but the dormitory boss stopped him. You can tell he's an idiot. He can't be the murderer. He can't even lie.
The dead daughter is the colonel's daughter. What can we do? Now that someone can prove his innocence, he'll be saved. Please help him.
Then the warden took the girl to his office and confirmed to the girl that there was an eyewitness. At night, the warden went alone to the place the girl had told him about. He found a soldier's medal and a gun. The witness was a deserter. No wonder he was afraid to testify. So the warden and the guards decided to find the witness to help Wei seek justice. But after a month of searching, they couldn't find him. But the warden had already received a notice of execution. After learning of the situation, the girl's grandmother died of grief. Since then, the girl has become a loner. Now her father was her only hope. The girl's teacher came to plead with the warden, but she saw a shocking sight. The wardens were building a torture device for Wei. Wei was still entertaining his daughter in the dormitory, but when he learned of his grandmother's death, Wei cried like a baby. My mom? Fortunately, the warden finally found the deserter. Soon the colonel also got the news, so he used his authority to question the deserter alone. He asked the deserter to tell him what happened that day. The colonel then realized that he had really wronged Wei. But so what? Someone had to pay for his daughter's death. Now the only witness is dead. The countdown to Wei's execution has begun. The kind guards let him see his daughter one last time. Seeing the torture equipment outside, Wei seemed to understand what was happening. He hugged his daughter tightly and wouldn't let go.
Oh, we should go now. I don't want to go. I can't be an angel yet. What will happen to Ower?
The teacher told Wei not to worry. I'll raise your daughter for you. Seeing this scene, even the warden shed tears. Ower said goodbye to his daughter.
As soon as he left the house, he knelt down. He knew he'd never see his daughter again. Before the execution, Wei took turns saying goodbye to his cellmates. Even at this moment, he still had an innocent smile on his face. Then Wei was put on the torture stool by the guards. When the stool fell to the floor, Wei left forever with a sense of resignation. Everyone felt sorry for what happened to Wei. After her father left, the girl lived with her teacher. But suddenly one day, the warden found her and told her that her father was still alive and took out a box and gave it to her. It turned out that on the night of Wei's execution, an old man decided to give his life to reunite Wei with the girl because the girl reminded him of his dead daughter. Now he has no one to turn to. There's no point in living. Grandpa gave his only box to the girl. It was the only thing he had for his daughter. Then Grandpa put on Wei's clothes. He went to the gallows in his place. Grandpa's sacrifice brought father and daughter together. Oh, Papa. Reality is far harsher than what we see. I wish every good person could get away from the hustle and bustle and live a happy and stable life with their family. A pickup truck with no license plate, whistling through the middle of nowhere, strangely, as he passed the orphanage, threw out a bag, and ran off without looking back. What kind of attack was this? When the nun came out, she saw the bag moving. Out of curiosity, he unlocked it. Suddenly, there was a punch. He did a backflip. Turns out there were 3 strange-looking babies in the bag. The other nuns heard the noise and came out to see what happened. My goodness, these 3 little ones were so cute. The nuns take care of these 3 little ones. They say they're angels, but I didn't realize that 10 years had passed. The 3 of them haven't changed a bit. You can't tell by their appearance. They used to be angels to the nuns. Now they're like demons. They pull teeth every day. They never use anesthetic. They just use a little hammer and that's it. The nuns are terrified. They were afraid to take these 3 children. The day the orphanage finally got some good news, a rich couple came. They wanted to adopt a child. When the mother superior heard the good news, what else could she think? Rushed to hide all the other children in the orphanage. Release those 3 children. If one of them is really taken away, everyone would be better off. So, under the control of the director, they chose Mushroom Head. On the way home, the man said, "Today is your birthday, make a wish. I'll make it happen for you." The mushroom said, "That's great. Actually, my wish is very simple. I want to take my 2 brothers with me. I don't want to be separated from them." As soon as the couple heard that, since the 3 of them are so close, if they were separated, everyone would be sad. So they went back and put the mushrooms down and replaced it with Curly, who loved lollipops. Time flies. Another 25 years passed and the 3 of them grew up.
25年弹指一挥间，这哥仨是一点没变。
They used to be the little angels of the nuns. Now all they do is sleep. The nuns couldn't take it anymore, so they threw a punch at the leg of the bed. The big man got up and took it out on the nuns. He was shouted down by the nuns. He turned into a meek little lamb. The nun saw that the 3 of them had nothing to do all day, so she gave them a job, repairing the big clock in the belfry. That clock, Fry took one look at it. He swung a hammer and I broke it and knocked it into the mushroom's head. DA brought a chainsaw to help, but couldn't get up the ladder when he stepped on it. His IQ plummeted. He hung the chainsaw directly on his back. The little strips of wood were cut off one by one. At 12:00 at noon, My sister arrived. Sister came over to check on their progress, but by now, the three men on the roof were already having fun. A round of hammering. The hammer flew out. Luckily they bent over in time. Otherwise, the nun would have been killed on the spot. After that, she was enraged. She decided to go up and show them some color. But when she grabbed the ladder cracked in half. The nun was confused what was going on. Meanwhile, the three of them were up there fixing the bell. They unlocked the clock without even looking at it. The clock slipped off the roof. The nun's eyes burned. The three of them tried to get downstairs to save her, but there's no way to get up the ladder. Mushroom and Fry fall from the sky. They fell right on their heads. As they turned, the big man stepped on stilts. To prevent being hit, he grabbed the nun and ran to the side and crashed into a fire hydrant. The big man couldn't get up again. Fry brought a bucket of water. The three of them decided to eat first, but when they turned the corner on the road, the priest's ladder was knocked over. He fell and hit the man below. The three of them looked back. Ouch! He's got a lot of nerve in broad daylight. They went up and beat him up. This orphanage is not doing well. It's going to close down in a month, unless they can come up with $300,000. Everyone here is confused. Where are they gonna get that kind of money? The three oldest kids in the family stepped up. They decided to go to the city and make a go of it. They wanted to make money to save the orphanage. On the day they left, all the children came out to see them off. The nun next to them said, "What are these three going to do? They don't know anything." Another nun said, "Let them go, otherwise we'll all go crazy." The three of them decided to hitchhike to save money, but the big man made a mistake, tied the other end of the tow rope to the back wheel of the bike. Once in town, the three of them started their own business. This was their sign for $300,000. You can't do anything. Don't say it didn't take long. They had customers coming to them. D.H. Young said 2 days ago, "I found out I have a terminal illness. I don't have much time left. I just want to get rid of it as soon as possible. Can you come to my house tonight to see me off, but only if you don't turn on the lights. I'll give you $300, 000 when it's done." In fact, these two are fakes. They're planning to steal Ami's other half, so that they can inherit his fortune. The three of them want to breathe a sigh of relief. It's easy. He knocked him off with a big belly. That's all. D.H. Young almost let them send them away. The mission isn't done yet. The three can't quit halfway. They dragged Ami's car all the way to the hospital. At this point, it was already past the time to see the doctor. What to do? The three dressed up as nurses and used the beauty trick. They asked the doctor where D.H. Young was. Seeing the three of them coming scared D.H. Young so much that he shrunk into his cast, based on the principle of beginning and ending. If you say you'll help him, you have to help him. They ordered a cake and threw it into the hole. And then, bam, D.H. Young was blown up. The three of them went to check it out. But this guy's got a pretty tough life. Why not smother him with a bath towel? But just then, the police came. They had to run away. They happened to meet Curly downstairs. Haven't seen him for years. He wanted to invite them to dinner, but they refused, because for them, their first priority was to earn the $300,000. So the three of them started their second business. Growing Spanish mackerel on a golf course, because they desperately needed $300,000 to keep the orphanage from going under. They were geniuses at getting rich. They believed that you reap what you sow, so they grow fish in the spring. And in the fall, nature? No way. By then it all stinks. Someone drove by. The three of them rushed to sell the mackerel. Not long after, the police came. They were so scared, they didn't dare turn back. They just ran. They ran straight into a small dark room. They started blaming each other. Mushroom said a lot of words that hurt D.A. and off Fry's self-esteem. They left in a huff. Suddenly, the lights came on and there was applause. Mushroom was chosen by the director to be an actor. In the evening, Curly sees a picture of his three childhood friends. He called his wife Ami to look at it with him. It turned out they were a couple. When Ami saw the photo, she was so shocked that she sprayed her face with foam. The next day, the two brothers were not idle. They set up a stall in front of the zoo. Dalmi and Dachan came too. They wanted to get rid of those three. With Dalmi's help, D.H. climbed into the zoo, but he didn't realize that D.H. was looking in the wrong place. This is the lion's territory. When the lion saw Chan at the door, he tried to bite him. Luckily, the chain wasn't long enough. Big John got a little puffed up, starts to stand up and provoke. Fry was feeding peanuts to the dolphin. The peanut was blocking his nose. The big guy sees this. He gives the dolphin the Heimlich maneuver. The peanut came out. It hit the lion like a bullet. The lion's eyes instantly filled with blood. The intense pain made it break free from the chain and rushed towards Big John. Then, the brothers continued walking down the street, looking for a new business venture.
wandered around the streets. They found their former best friend Mushroom had become a hot star. In order to raise money to save the orphanage from closing down, they have to borrow money from Curly's foster father. They find out that Ami is Curly's wife. They realize the situation is not good. They found Mushroom, who was shooting a movie. After telling him the truth, the three decided not to let Ami's plan succeed. So the next day, they rode their skateboards to Curly's house for his and Ami's first anniversary party. First, they ate abalone and lobster. Then they went to Curly's room. They told him the truth. At that moment, Da-chan and Ami came over. They pointed their guns at them. Don't make a sound. Don't move. At that moment, Curly's foster father came. You think he came to save them? No. He's actually in cahoots with Ami. When his foster mom left him, she left all her inheritance to Curly. His foster father didn't approve. He married her for money, no love at all.
Otherwise, he wouldn't have adopted Curly. So we must get rid of Curly now for the inheritance, right? And get rid of the others too. That's not so bad. They were driving through the forest.
Suddenly, the big guy pulls a mouse out of his pocket. The car was a mess. The car started rocking down the road uncontrollably. It went straight into a ditch. It sank to the bottom of the ditch. Now they had to find a way to escape through the window. That's when the big guy let out a fart. There's a way out. Mushroom took out a waterproof match. The next moment, there was a bang and a splash. They were saved. Now all three of them knew that Curly had inherited a big fortune. He was a rich man, so they hoped to borrow $300,000, but it was flatly refused. So the three of them went back to the orphanage.
But to their surprise, the orphanage had changed. It turns out that the director had sponsored the orphanage. The director had financed the renovation of the orphanage.
At the same time, he signed a contract with the three of them to be the main characters of his next movie. The money will be used to support the orphanage. From now on, the three of them will live a carefree life.
Please enjoy the movie.
Thank you for following us. Christmas is fast approaching. This family is planning a trip. Down scenes of people might even consider bringing nail clippers, but they left one alive. That's right. He woke up confused. What happened? There's no one in the house, not a hair on his head. What's the point of thinking about it? From now on, Guy, I'm the head of the family. At such a young age, he can't realize the joy of freedom.
He can't read to his heart's content his brother's collector's edition of magazines. He can't watch TV as long as he wants, even if he falls asleep. And when he's done, he can't eat the $3.80 tub of ice cream balls. Want to go sledding? What's the point of going to a ski resort? Well, you have the conditions in that house.
I just threw my scarf away and came skiing. I was having a great time, but on the other hand, his mom was confused. She's worried about Kai because the security in their neighborhood is not good, and Christmas is coming soon. She didn't even dare to think about the future. At that moment, Kai's third uncle said, "It's okay for Kai to stay home." And then I left my glasses at home. Did you see who I told? The mom's fears proved to be right. Their neighborhood was really targeted by two thieves, whose house was empty on Christmas Day. They investigated everything. Kai's house became their appetizer. Kai was sleeping soundly. Suddenly, he heard a commotion outside, and he saw two figures. Kai immediately jumped up. He hurriedly turned on all the lights in the house. The two thieves were scared out of their wits. Wasn't there no one in the house? There must be something wrong with that message. And they fled. Kai is already hiding under the bed and is afraid to go out. During Christmas, Kai's house was targeted by two thieves. He was so scared that he hid under the bed and shivered. But on second thought, he was so handsome, a man should act like a man, so he plucked up the courage to assert his sovereignty. Come here.
But in the end, Kai was so scared that he hid under the bed again because this old man in their neighborhood is said to be a bad guy. On the other hand, after mom and dad got off the plane, they rushed to call the police to explain the situation.
Listen to me, brother, our family. We were going to spend Christmas out of town.
But I didn't agree at first. But my second cousin's wife said, young people should go out and have fun. What's the point of keeping the money? I thought it was a good idea, so I started planning where to go.
Hey, get to the point. I left my son at home.
You can't take a look for me, but their cops aren't just lazy. Let's go.
After half a day of inking, one finally came. He knocked twice. He left when he didn't hear anything. That's bullshit. Kai was under the covers. How could he hear? The next morning, Kai stared at his brother's pocket money, but because it was so high, he could only climb up with his bare hands. The plank was too brittle and broke with a crash. He's fine, but his brother's spider escapes. Kai stood up and flopped down. He took his pocket money and went out to spend it. He went to the supermarket to buy a toothbrush. And guess what? the old man shows up again. Kai sees that he has a bandage on his hand. He freaked out and ran for his life. He even forgot to pay. The clerk rushed out and he didn't pay. Fatty the cop heard the promotion was coming. He was in hot pursuit. Kai was ahead of him, passing an upscale skating rink. Kai slipped and slid underneath one after another, and the big fat guy tries to pass him, but fell to the ground with a thud.
看这俩贼
Look at these two thieves. After stealing from each house, as they left, they block the drain with a towel, then turn on the faucet and leave. Whenever they're in their sights, they will not only steal your money, they'll also steal your water bill. That's why they're known around the world as water thieves.
When they leave, they don't even notice a kid on the road. Hey, there's someone up ahead.
Fortunately, nothing happened. Kai turned around and saw Baton's gold teeth and is startled. That doesn't look like a good guy. Kai runs ahead, with the two thieves following, but when they passed the church, they couldn't find him. Kai dressed up as a midget. He managed to escape. Kai knew he was being watched. They'll be back at night. He had to go back and take precautions, as expected. When night fell, the two thieves really came, but they were staring at the house. They were confused as to what was going on. The house was full of people. It looked like a party. In fact, he used props to create the effect. Seeing this situation, the two thieves decided to leave for a while. They lurked around the neighborhood for a day watching what was going on in Kay's house, but they couldn't figure it out. There was no one in the house during the day, so Shatter went to the back door. He wanted to see for himself, but inside the house, Kai realized something was wrong. He immediately turned on the TV with the remote control. Then he found an iron skillet. Then he took a small whip. Get out of my house right now, or I'll shoot you with my gun. I'll count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 10.
Confused when she saw it. What's wrong? She felt something was wrong. Then she saw that Kai wasn't nervous at all. He put things into the cash register one by one. And just like that, Kai went home with 2 bags.
Next thing you know, Kai was ready to put up the Christmas tree, but just then, he was spotted by 2 thieves who were on the prowl. They were sure that Kai was alone. While Kai was decorating the tree, Baton appeared from behind. Kai spotted him from the colored balls. The 2 thieves were talking downstairs. We're leaving tonight at 9 p.m. We'll rob their house. What did they say? Kai could hear them very well from upstairs. At night, Kai came to the church and met the old man again. He approached Kai slowly. At that moment, Kai felt that the old man was not scary. In fact, the old man's name was 13. A few years ago, he had a fight with his son. Since then, they haven't spoken to each other. He could only sneak into the church to hear his granddaughter sing. Kay said, "You should have listened to me. You should have been braver. Just like I used to be afraid to go down to the basement by myself. Now I'm at home alone. Last night, I went down to do the laundry. It wasn't really that scary." 13 was inspired. The two of them became friends. By this time, the clock was pointing to 8 p.m. Kai ran home in a hurry. He had to prepare for the 2 thieves. The boy's house was targeted by 2 thieves. The battle for the house was about to begin. First, he made a plan. Then he set up a trap. According to the plan, he placed a car in front of the door, with the front of the car facing up. It's like he's got it all figured out. It's clear as day. When everything was ready, the 2 thieves arrived on time. First, they went to the back door. They lied to Kay. "We're here to check the water meter. Open the door." Kid, Kay couldn't be fooled. They took a toy gun out. He took a shot at Baton.
And then Shelter got a bullet in the head. He was screaming in pain.
Yes! Yes!
The 2 thieves decided to split up. The water on the stairs had flouncing. The glittering reflection. Baton unknowingly walked over. He stepped on it and slipped. He fell on his back.
And so did Shelter. He fell with a trill.
Baton is back on his feet. He's holding on to the railing and heading for the door. The doorknob was hot. Grab it.
The two of them went through a few more rounds of unexpected traps. They both seemed to be getting smarter.
Shelter realized the window was open, so what's the point? But then he made the mistake of not looking at his feet. Oops, it's Christmas Eve. Kay's house was targeted by 2 burglars. They set up all kinds of traps. They tortured each other to death. There's no one here. Shelter went to the basement. It's pitch black in there. Turn the light on. Shelter struggles to get up and get ready to go upstairs, so as not to soil the floor of Kay's house. The glue on the stairs took off his shoes and his big cotton socks, and the nails. Baton, who had suffered at the front door. He came back to the back door. This time, he's learned his lesson. Tentatively touched the handle. No problem. He boldly stepped inside. Then the sudden perm turned his already small amount of hair, turned into a small sea of islands on all sides. The Tom was so furious that he couldn't care less. Straight away, he kicked the door open and stepped smoothly into the room. He was determined to teach Kai a lesson. Then he was glued in the face, and the next second,
Shelter found a new direction of attack, the window, but he didn't look at his feet.
And then after a lot of maneuvering, the two thieves met in the first floor lobby. Where are your shoes? Don't tell me. Look at your hair. It's full of hair. You shut up. At that moment, Kai shouted from above, I'm here. When the two thieves heard that, they rushed upwards. Then Kai threw the paint. The Don stood in front of it and managed to dodge it. Shatterer was knocked off his feet, but he didn't expect it. Neither of them got away. Kai called the police. He left his address at his elderly neighbor's house. After the incident, he ran to the other side, but he didn't expect that the two stupid thieves would be able to get ahead of him. Kai was lifted up and hung from the clothesline. That's when 13 appeared from behind. With one shovelful, he knocked the two thieves to the ground. In the end, they were arrested, but the story of Kai and the thieves wasn't over yet. The next day, Christmas Day, the whole family returned. Kai looked out of the window and 14 had come back too. He spent Christmas with his father. 13